Hi, everyone. My name is Carlos Mark Vera. I'm the executive director at Pay Interns, and I'm so excited to be here. It reminds me of the time when I was an intern, and it actually was not that long ago. I remember it like it was yesterday, getting the email that I was going to be interning for a member near my district in Southern California. I'm being really excited, but having to face the fact that like I didn't actually own a full suit. Thankfully, my family chipped in, so I had enough professional clothing, or enough to get me by some days. The next challenge, I guess, was finding out that it was unpaid. I didn't think much of it, and I think part of it is this like work grind culture where you need to pay your dues. I worked about 20 hours a week on campus. I interned about 30 hours a week, and then I was taking 16 credits as a sophomore in college. It was not easy, right? Many times I was fighting not to fall asleep, but it very much felt rewarding because I was learning the inner workings of our government and the vast, impact that I can have in our communities in a good way or in a bad way. One of the key moments that will always stay with me is walking down the hallways of the Capitol, looking around and realizing that no one looked like me except the custodian. It just didn't seem right? For being the body that was supposed to represent our diverse communities, it wasn't. But I kind of kept on going. I finished the internship. I took a year off. I joined the Army Reserves, served as a general mechanic, came back. And because I interned in Congress, that opened up doors that led to working at the European Parliament in Brussels. And then finally, as a junior at the White House, my life was perfect, quote unquote. I started my MPA while doing my BA. I was supposed to have my bachelor's and master's degree by the age of 21, intern at the White House. And I got to a point where I was exhausted. There's a lot going on in my life and I wasn't exactly happy. I dropped out of the MPA program. The White House internship, of course, was extremely formative. I learned so much, so hands-on, but kind of like the first or the second internship, it was unpaid. And business casual actually did not fly. You had to wear business professional every day, and I only owned, I think, one or two suits. So it was the same challenge of getting my family to kind of, come together and pitch again. But by that point, I really thought about like, why does this have to be this way, right? Because I realized that I was one of the few lucky people of color that was being able to go, through these opportunities, while many of my friends were not. After finishing the internship, I ended up organizing workers at American University, and then I dropped out of college. Yes, right. Fun fact. But I was working at a PR firm. And like I said, I kept on thinking about the whole thing about unpaid internships. And it wasn't until my mentee mentioned that he had skipped out on buying groceries just to pay for the dry cleaning cost of his unpaid internship on the Hill. And at that point, I knew that this cycle needed to end. So I quit my job, much to the displeasure of my family. And I started Pay Interns with Guillermo Creamer, who also was a formerly unpaid intern on the Hill. And the whole point of it is let's end unpaid internships and ensure that folks from all backgrounds can get these opportunities. We started in Congress because we thought it was very symbolic. And up until 2017, it was actually the largest employer of unpaid interns, about 10,000 a year. But people thought that this was dead on arrival. First, that culture of pay your dues. And second, because of the depolarization, right? Congress can sometimes not agree on much. Why would they take time to focus on this? But we ignored that. We hit the ground running. We started going to offices. We reached out to 40 offices to meet up. Only 3 got back to us. But as we started talking to offices, we started realizing a common theme that paid internships was one of the few issues where Republicans and Democrats actually could agree on it. And there was support across both parties. There, unfortunately, was not much data on which offices paid and which ones did not. So we actually went to all 545 offices, collected that data, and then in June 2017, released a report called Experience Doesn't Pay the Bills, Why Congress Should Pay Their Interns, kind of like the sign says behind me. But we provided a roadmap, a policy roadmap as to how to fix this problem. We argued that the only sustainable solution to fix unpaid internships in Congress was to have an appropriations, basically a line item, so each office could get a fund to pay them. We worked with, Republicans, both like, moderates, conservatives, liberals, progressives, everyone, right? And then in May 2018, there was a slim, very, very slim chance that in the Senate we could pass $5 million so they could pay their interns. It was supposed to not happen. And we worked our ass off. And thankfully, Republicans and Democrats and appropriations came together and unanimously passed $5 million to pay interns in the Senate. And then the same thing happened in the House with $8.8 million. And long story short, we ended up with a $14 million fund to pay interns. I can't stress how big that was, right? In a time where not much could be agreed upon, right? Where Democrats and Republicans weren't working together. They came together for this with the whole purpose of how do we ensure that working class youth can come here, right? Because like, I'm going to tell you, it is in the best interest of this country to have folks from all backgrounds, right? Because this is the body that you're going to soon realize that they're the ones writing, funding for HBCUs, for community hospitals, for Head Start, for WIC. The decisions made in that body have life and death consequences. Long story short, since then, that fund has been appropriated $50 million. It's allowed thousands of folks from across the country to intern and get paid for it. Are there still some unpaid internships? Yes. And if you're not getting paid, please hit me up. I will leave my contact information because every office has a fund to pay their interns. I share all of this just to give you an example that you can create so much change without, being powerful or wealthy, and not to be scared to reimagine what can be. Just because we've done something a certain way for 30 years doesn't make it right. But more than that, to remember that behind every memorandum and policy report that has a percentage or number, there are people behind those numbers with real lives, and you just want to make sure that you keep that in mind. These are obviously very interesting times to be interning on the Hill, so I'm sure it will definitely be exciting, or at least in the better sense, not boring. But it's in these daunting times where we need all hands on deck, and the first step is getting involved. So I'm really excited for everyone that is getting the chance to intern. Tens of thousands of people apply, and you were selected. So you should feel very lucky. And please feel free to reach out. Myself and the team, including Habiba, are here to help you. Whether you have questions about pay, culture, what have you, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.